In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. I'm very happy to be with you today here in Detroit. The last time I was in Detroit, it was 2001. So very recent. It's been only 18 years since I've been here. Not sure if you all know or not, but Abuna Maximos and my father used to go to the same church in Shobra, and my dad was Abuna Maximos' Sunday school teacher. That's how I got to know Abuna Maximos. And while I was in the monastery doing my 40 days, Abuna Maximos also came in the monastery, and I spent very good quality time with Abuna Maximos. So that's how I know Abuna Maximos, and my fathers that I just met today as well. I'm very blessed to be with them, and I'm very thankful for being with you and taking this blessing. Today I want to talk to you about how we're in need of asking God to teach us how to take care of our homes. To take care of our homes. You know, the church all throughout the years has faced many problems and many issues and many persecution. And every phase in the history of the church, we had to deal with many problems to combat the persecution from outside. The early history of the church, it was persecution, it was a physical persecution and martyrdom. And then when that phase was over, it was, hardship with the faith and our belief system, and that's why you have the three councils. And then after that, we were faced with many other problems from other issues. I can assure you right now that the church is protected by God's grace, but the fight that we are currently battling in the 21st century is not the church directly, but the church in our homes. The church in our homes. That is the current 21st century fight. This is the war that's happening right now. So the devil has become a lot more creative. Instead of fighting the church, the actual church, he's fighting the church at our homes. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful. Out of all the problems that I deal with as a priest, I would say 90% of all the problems have to do with either marital problems or parenting problems. Mainly problems have to do with the home. I would go as far as saying 99% of all the problems either have to do with marital problems or parenting problems. So we have to ask ourselves, why do we have so many problems at home? The number one reason that we have problems at home is that we don't know what are the roles and the responsibilities of each individual. What's the role of a husband? Or what's the role of a father? What's the role of a mother? What's the role of the children? What are the responsibilities? If we don't know what the roles and responsibilities are, we see a lot of chaos. A wife that wants to do the role of a husband that does not know quite the role that he has to take, so he neglects his home. Children that don't understand what their boundaries are, they go over the boundaries, and so forth. So today, I want to, with the grace of God, just talk to you about a few of the, very practical problems that happen in our homes and how we can overcome some of these problems. Lots of time when we're dealing with children from a parenting perspective, we are only looking at the short-term goal. I want my son or my daughter to stop crying right now. All the parents, or most of the parents, don't think of the long-term goal. What's the long-term goal of parenting? Is it for me to make sure that my son does not cry this moment? Or is the long-term goal of any parent is to help their children to go to heaven? That's our long-term goal. If we keep neglecting our long-term goal in parenting and only focus on short-term goal, our kids will be lost. And this happens all the time. We don't talk enough about the long-term goal. We don't talk enough about the beauty of heaven and how we're all trying to get to heaven. We don't talk enough about the beauty of our church and how without a church and without the sacraments we cannot get to heaven. We don't talk enough about the beauty of loving other people and serving other people. And we definitely do not talk enough about God in our homes. We're so focused on the short-term goal. My son has to do well in school. My son has to do well in sports. My son has to do well in whatever. It's very short-term. I'm sure all of our children will do well in school. And I'm never going to take away from the goal of education. But what's the long-term goal after that? Is my main goal is to make sure that my son is an engineer or a doctor or a pharmacist? That's it? That's my whole long-term goal? Or my goal should be longer than that. It should be to make sure that my children go to heaven. That our church at home is a reflection of a true church. That we sit and read the Bible together. That we stand and pray together. That we fast together, that we sing hymns together. If we do all these things in our homes, then our homes become a church, where the father becomes a true priest for that family, that sacrifices, not actual sacrifices, but himself. He becomes the Christ in the family, and that's what a father's role is, to sacrifice everything. And our mothers will be true mothers that honors and respects the father. Our mothers will be true churches. This is what St. Paul says. For the husband to be like Christ and for the wife to be like the church. Christ came and sacrificed everything to give to the church. And in return, the church honors and respects. And the more that the husband sacrifices, the more that the wife respects. And it becomes what they call a double positive loop. I, as a husband, sacrifice. My wife sees my sacrifice. She honors and respects. I see her honor and respect. I want to sacrifice more. She sees me sacrificing more. She wants to honor and respect me more, and so forth. And then our children see this beautiful intimate relationship between the husband and the wife, and they know what a true heaven on earth is. This is the first issue that always comes up, the long-term and the short-term goals of parenting. A lot of times in parenting, we send two messages at the same time to our kids, and we confuse our kids. And this happens to everyone. No one is perfect. But we just have to be mindful of it so we could fix it. I cannot yell at my child and tell him to stop yelling. I'm sending two opposite messages in one gesture. And my son is confused, or my daughter is confused. You're yelling and you're telling me not to yell. And I'm supposed to be like you. And I'm supposed to copy you. So what do I do? Or I tell my son to speak the truth and I'm lying at home. So which one do you want me to do? Do you want me to copy you or do you want me to listen to you? There are many, many examples of this. I want my son to pray, but I don't pray. I want my son to pick up the Bible and read, but I don't pick up the Bible and read. I want my son to come and confess, but I don't confess. I want my son to wake up early and go to church, but I don't wake up early and go to church. Trust me when I tell you that you don't even need to teach your children anything if you live a godly life. If you live a true, godly, righteous life, they will just copy you. You don't need to say to them, pray, because you're praying. When you pray at home, they will just come and stand beside you and copy you. without knowing anything, without you needing even to tell them to pray. You want them to read the Bible? Read the Bible yourself. If you pick up the Bible every day and sit in your room and read the Bible, I promise you, your children will come and sit beside you without you telling them anything. You want to fix your children? Fix yourselves. You want them to change? Change yourself. You want them to be better people? You become a better person. Actions speak louder than words. If I come early to church, I do a matanya at church, I raise my hands to pray, I ask for forgiveness, I sit and I confess. These are very practical examples for any child to see his dad or his mom doing, and they will copy it. Let us focus on that today. If there's anything that we can come out of today to fix our homes, to ask God to teach us how to take care of our homes, let us today be the child that we want them to be. If I want my child to be good at all these things, then I have to be good at all these things. One of the other practical issues that happens in our homes, so we talked about the long term versus short term. We talked about I'm sending two messages. One is saying not to do something and I'm doing it. The other thing that we all struggle with is communication. Communication. They say that most of the communication happen in a non-verbal way. Non-verbal. So I could say one thing, but my communication is saying something totally different. They say that if it's a percentage, 7% of my communication is through words, verbal. 38 is the tone of voice that I'm using. And the rest, which is 55%, is body language. Body language. When I'm speaking to you, I could have my hands open, or I could be folding my hands. Opening my hands and talking like this, telling you there's no barriers between me and you, and I'm speaking the truth. Closing my hands and closing myself, I'm in a defensive position. I'm guarding myself. I'm protecting myself. I'm telling you, either I don't want you to listen to me, or to really understand what I'm saying, or I don't want to listen to you. As parents and as husbands and wives, let us focus on the non-verbal communication. One of the problems that most wives complain about is that the husband doesn't feel and doesn't understand what she's going through. Because the husband is only focusing on the verbal part of the communication. But Abuna, she said this. She said this multiple times. Yeah, but what was her body language? What was her tone of voice? What was she talking about? What was her emotional state? Was she happy? Was she sad? Husbands and wives need to understand these different forms of communication. When I'm communicating a husband and wife, I listen to something, I interpret what I'm listening, and then I say based on what I'm listening, and then the person in front of me interprets what I just said, and then they respond. It's a vicious loop. If I'm not clear, they can misinterpret. And when they misinterpret, they will respond based on a misinterpretation. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a funny example. A wife says to her husband, "Why did you not call to let me know that you're running late?" Okay? The husband feels or interprets, she wants to control me. She wants to control me. How does he respond based on that interpretation? Why are you acting like my mother? The wife interprets this, he must be hiding something. She responds in a very angry way because she's suspicious, and she begins to nag. The husband interprets, she doesn't trust me. Here we go again. And he responds by withdrawing. It all started when the wife said, "Why did you not call to let me know that you're late?" طبعا the context and the tone of voice can make it two extremes. If the wife is yelling at the husband and saying, "Why didn't you call to tell me that you're late?" versus, "Why didn't you call when you were late?" طبعا the tone of voice and the context makes a difference. But the husband, after he listens to this, instead of misinterpreting what he understood, he could ask a question. Instead of feeling that she's trying to control him, he could say to her, either in a very humble way, "I'm sorry I didn't call, I was busy." The wife would say, "Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you're okay." The husband would say, "Thank you very much for always caring about me." See how beautiful that interaction is? Let's try it again. The wife says, "Why didn't you call? You're running late." The advanced level of the husband say, "I'm so thankful to have a wife that cares so much about my safety, and that's why you're asking me." There's intimacy of a relationship between a husband and wife. Or at least if there's a misinterpretation, either side could clarify. A wife says, "Why didn't you call me? You were late." The husband could respond, "Are you asking because you wanted something, or are you asking because you're concerned about me?" Let her give you the right interpretation. She could say, "No, I was just really worried about you. Thank you so much for always being there and being worried about me. Everything's okay, I was just really busy and I apologize." The more that we are humble and the more that we are loving toward each other, the more problems just go away by themselves. If I see someone, if my wife is angry and I see her angry, instead of retaliating, I have to be the one that contains her. If I see my husband coming from work and he's really tired, I have to be the one that's containing him. It's my job to contain the other side. How many of us go to each other, to our spouses, and say, "What can I do today to make your day the best day ever? How can I be a good wife for you today? How can I be a good husband for you today?" I promise you, if you start developing this, life becomes very sweet, which I called before the double positive loop. You'll start doing a nice gesture, the other side will respond in a very nice way. Even if the response is bad, continue responding in a positive way. If you do half of the things that I'm asking you to do, most priests would run out of jobs. We wouldn't have anything to do. We would retire. We would just, pray all day and do nothing else. I hope that we could take some of these examples and apply them. With communication, we have to listen a lot more than we speak. And this is from St. James. This is biblical. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. Swift to hear. Swift to hear, that means when someone speaks, I'm really being attentive. And I'm paraphrasing, and I'm asking questions to make sure I heard and I interpreted right. We need to listen so much more, not just to the words, but to the nonverbal communication as well. We need to be also aware of something called emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Just like there's physical intelligence of practical things, there's emotional intelligence. How can I pick on the feelings of the person in front of me? Am I smart enough to understand that the person is sad or happy or tired or angry? Do we talk enough about our feelings, or is this a no topic at home? There's nothing wrong with talking about feelings. I feel angry today because of so and so. But let us start with an I statement. We call them the I statements. I feel this. Not you made me feel this. No, I feel this. The more that we communicate effectively, and the more that we listen effectively, the more we have active listening, and the more we have emotional intelligence, and the more we have a double positive loop, the calmer our homes will be. All this under the spiritual realm. This is not just something that we do so away from the church, away from the sacraments, away from our prayers. No, this is to supplement everything else, or to be complementary to everything else that we're doing. The last topic I'm going to talk about, which always gets me in trouble, so I'm giving you an introduction. This topic is a very hated topic. I don't know why. Every time I talk about it, I always have at least 5 moms, mostly moms, come and talk to me afterwards. So I understand if, moms will come and talk to me afterwards. And I think I did it at least in two separate churches, and every time it never fails. It's a very hot topic, but to me, I'm not changing my point of view. Healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Okay? Everything in our society has boundaries. Okay? You can't drive in traffic without boundaries, without lanes, without speed limits. There's boundaries, there's rules. Okay? A church has boundaries. The services has boundaries, okay? There's boundaries between me and God. There's boundaries between a husband and wife. There's no such thing as there's no boundaries between husband and wife. No, there's boundaries. Maybe they're not as clear, but there are boundaries. There's boundaries between parents and children. There's boundaries. There's boundaries between family and friends. The immediate family, the husband, the wife, and the kids, and their friends. There's boundaries. There's boundaries between families and in-laws. This is the one that gets me in trouble. Families and in-laws. There's a YouTube video of a show on CYC that I did that had the most views just because of this. Boundaries between families and in-laws. I don't know why. It's like as if I said something that is like a heretic or something. As if there should never be boundaries between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. No, there's boundaries. And we're not doing this saying that there's no love. So I don't know why people lots of times translate boundaries as lack of love. No. God has given boundaries between Him and us, okay? And we love Him and He loves us. But there's boundaries. So boundaries between families and in-laws. Between families and other families. Lots of times, any relationship, people are not clear what these boundaries are. Where's the boundary? Where's that line? And everybody's so scared to say to the other individual, by the way, there's a line right here, please don't cross it. I love you, I respect you, but you stepped over that line. Because I love you and I respect you so much, I'm telling you that there's a line. This happens all the time. We as a culture as well don't understand this very clearly and think that it's offensive or think that it lacks love or we think it's disrespectful. How can I say to someone that there's a line and they crossed it? I don't know why this is a matter of disrespect, even though I said it to a lot of people in my life with lots of love and lots of respect, and we're still best friends and we're still happy together. There's nothing wrong. It's not a sin to say to someone, there's a boundary, please don't cross it. And we're doing this so we can maintain the relationship, so we can grow the relationship. If I don't care about someone, and I don't want to grow the relationship, then I'm not going to mention anything. I'll just walk away or leave them away or not care. But because I care about the relationship and I love the person so much, I'm telling them, please be careful, there's a boundary here. The most difficult boundaries that we deal with happen right after an individual gets married. Even though in the Bible it says very clearly, a man shall leave his father and his mother and clings to his wife. So there's leaving and there's clinging. These are not my words. If you want to get upset with God. It has nothing to do with me. Leaves. How many of us, once our child gets married, we tell them, you are now leaving us and clinging to your partner, your spouse, your wife or your husband. How many parents educate their children and say to them, okay, Habibi, now you're married. You're clinging to your wife. That means there's a boundary between your family and my family. That means this is a clear line now. And as we progress, you cannot just come to this house whenever you want and drink whatever you want and eat whatever you want and sleep in your bed whatever you want. No, habibi, that would be disrespectful to your wife. Just like I cannot come to your house and eat whatever I want and drink whatever I want and sleep whenever I want, I have to tell you, Habibi, I'm coming to I would like to visit you. Is it okay to visit you at this time? They could say yes or no. This conversation is a huge disrespect in the Egyptian community. I don't know why. يعني ايه يا ابونا؟ يعني ايه؟ يعني ايه ابني ما قدرش يجي لي في بيتي زي ما هو يحب؟ يعني ايه يا ابونا؟ ده محبة، اكرم اباك وامك، وقعدوا بقى يقولوا شواهد. I'm like, I didn't say anything. كل بقول, can you as a father to go to his house whenever you want? ممكن اب لابنه يخبط على الباب كده ويخش يقعد معاهم في اي وقت وينام في البيت وياكل ويشرب؟ ما يقدرش. الريليشنشيب لازم تبقى balanced. زي ما انا ما اقدرش اروح عند بيت ابني whenever I want، هو برضه ما يقدرش يجي عندي whenever he wants. مش معنى كده بقول انا بكرهه، صدقوني مش بكرهه، انا بحب اولادي. I have 3 sons. بس بعلمه، educate him. ممكن انا كفاذر ابقى very accepting ان هو يجي لي more than I want to go and visit him. That's fine. بس برضه في boundaries. عشان بعلمه I'm educating him. لا يا حبيبي, now you are a husband or now you are a father. You have to understand so you can too teach your children the same things that I'm teaching you. There's lots of mothers. هي دي بقى المشكلة اللي هتيجي دلوقتي. في أمهات كثيرة they feel if they have a son that his wife is coming and kidnapping him. بيخطفوا مع ان هي ما عملتش حاجة. ده احنا اللي بنقول للراجل you are the one that has to leave your father and your mother and cling, الزق, cling to your wife. طب هي البنت ذنبها ايه؟ And problems after problems after problems. ليه؟ Lack of boundaries, lack of communication, there's a boundary, lack of لا ده صح and this is wrong. She's not coming to steal your son. Just like we don't say that he is going to steal her from her parents. Home now there are a new entity. There are new small tiny church that's starting. Parents, please forgive me, but don't make their life more difficult. احنا عندنا الإيجيبشنز في حاجة اسمها the guilt. It's called the Egyptian guilt. الجلت ده is so powerful. مع ان ربنا never uses guilt with us. So it's not Christian. God does not guilt trip us so we could love him. ربنا بيجي يقول شفت انا عملت وسويت وسامحتك يلا بقى تعالى حبني. No, مش بيعمل معنا كده. God, we say he knocks on the door. If I let him in, he comes in. If I don't let him in, he just knocks on the door. بكل أدب وبكل محبة وبكل gentleness. وده our heavenly father. مش بيجي ويقتحم حياتي. لا, he's knocking on the door. وللأسف us sometimes tell him, okay, come in. Okay, get out. Okay, come in. Okay, get out. Okay, come in. Okay, get out. And because he's so loving and so humble and so precious, he listens to us. Every time I say come in, he comes in. Every time I tell him to go out, he goes out. We have a lot to learn from how Christ deals with us as parents. We have to be gentle. We need to ask, knock on the door. Is it okay for me to visit you? Yes, we would love to have you. We would be blessed to have you, Mama and Baba and our family. Come, wonderful. It's a blessing to have parents over. It's not a right. مش أجي وأنا أقتحم, it's my right. I am the mother, I'm the father. No, you have no rights. Let us learn about how we could have healthy boundaries. Communicate. Ask. If you really want to have a good relationship with your son or with your daughter after marriage, communicate. Lots of love, lots of respect. and communicate. Is this okay, not okay? I don't want to come and upset anybody. Let them be the ones that are asking the parents for their presence. And let them be the ones that really want the grandparents or the parents to come and be with them and take their blessing. Let us let go. As parents, at a certain age, we need to let go. Khalas, we've done our part. You've been with us for 20, 22, 25, whatever the number of years are. That's enough. We've done our part. Now it's time for you to be a parent, or it's time for you to be a husband. It's time for you to be a wife. Let us help you. Let us encourage you. Let the husbands lead and be the priests and be Christ-like. Let the wives be like the church and respect. Let the kids be honorable to their parents, honor their father and their mother. And for us to continue to ask the right questions. When was the last time you stood and prayed together? That's a better question than طبخين إيه النهاردة? إيه طبخين إيه النهاردة? Whatever, who cares? How many of our parents say, what was the last thing that you read in the Bible today? What good spiritual book have you read today? When was the last time you sat with your family and read the Bible today? And so forth. We're only here for a very short time. And we will give an account for every idle word that we utter. Let our words be filled with grace and joy to tell people that there is a better place than here, including our families. Let us, when we sit and talk, we talk about heaven, we talk about Christ, we talk about the saints, we talk about spiritual matters. Let our homes be very strong in the Orthodox faith, that when our children come to the church, they see an exact reflection of their church at home. The more we can focus on our church at home, the more we can have many, many generations of blessed children that are not necessarily all doctors or engineers or pharmacists, that are Christians, that are mini Christ, that are light in this world. To God be the glory forever and ever. Amen.